Good evening and welcome to SCTV, Simpson College's first student-run newscast. I'm Jake Brend. Thank you for joining us.
And I'm Liv Allen.
Tomorrow is Veterans Day, and we at SCTV would like to thank all active and former service members in all branches of the military.
Our community has dozens of veterans, including Professor Shane Cox. I caught up with Professor Cox to reflect on his experience sacrificing for our country.
Yeah, I joined because I wanted to go to college and I was a first generation college student. But my overall experience as the years go by, I reflect on it differently. But at the time, it was intense. I moved out to San Diego, California after boot camp. Went to boot camp in Illinois. Um, so you just really don't have. You can't understand the magnitude until you go out there. So I lived on a ship for 2 years. It was a 4 years I served on that ship, USS Sides. But I lived on the ship for 2 years, and I moved up north with the family. But in that 4 years, I went on two 6-month deployments in the Pacific. Went to a bunch of different countries, different cultures, different religions. Some pretty scary times, and then some pretty crazy times as well. What I took away from it was looking back now, how you really, when you go serve active duty, um, you really do serve because you're away from your family. Those 4 years you don't have your friends or family, and so it's life transforming. I just say that the longer and longer I've been out, the more you really realize what a significant sacrifice it was. 4 years of your life. A lot of times you're floating out in the middle of the ocean and doing a gun shoot, and you wonder if anybody even knows you're out there doing it. But people know that you serve. And also, I'll just mention that it's hard as somebody who served to really communicate what it's like. And the only people who ever really know that are those who have experienced. But yeah, and I value everything the veterans have been doing. So those who are serving and those who have served, and great veterans here on campus as well. So
Thank you to Professor Cox and all service members.
With National Stress Awareness Day taking place last week, Active Minds, a student organization on campus, is working to provide students a place to have meaningful conversations surrounding mental health.
Current meetings attendance for Active Minds is about 15, but Grenco says that they are actively recruiting more people to join the club.
So coming out of the pandemic is especially important just because we've had a lot of isolation from others, and being socially connected is a big part of mental health. And truthfully, if your mental health isn't up to par, it starts to affect your physical health, the motivation you have in school. So it's just a really important topic and something you want to keep up on for yourself and for those around you. So we usually meet bi-weekly on Wednesdays at 5. And it kind of depends on what's going on. Like the last meeting we had was centered around National Stress Awareness Day. So we had an activity for that, just like some de-stressor activities. And as a research liaison, I gave a short presentation. And it's just a great group of people to have support and talk about mental health issues and not have to worry about being judged or anything like that.
Email either Grenco or President Emma Toole to learn more about getting involved with Active Minds. Anyone is welcome.
There are over 10 students currently studying abroad for the semester in London.
SCTV's Max Bertrands caught up with the students living at Roehampton University in England.
Simpson students who have traveled to London to study at the University of Roehampton for the fall semester have learned a lot about different cultures. I caught up with the students to see how they are doing.
We had a class that allowed us to go through all these historical sites, museums and whatnot, like Hampton Court Palace. We've been to the Tower of London. We've been to Churchill's war rooms. We've just been exploring a lot of the historical things in London. I think our first day here, we took the bus, which none of us really taken public transport before, but it gets some taking used to. I think the most fun class I'm taking right now is one called Difference in Diversity. I love it because you actually get to explore policy.
This is actually my first weekend that I've spent in England. So I've gone to Ireland, Scotland, Italy, and Greece. This weekend I'm going to Austria, then the next one I'm going to Paris. And then we've kind of just also been traveling around England a little bit. So yesterday I went to Stonehenge. but all of us have just been traveling like every chance we get. So it was definitely hard, and I know it was a lot harder for the other study abroad students. So there's about 70 of us study abroad students from like all the different schools. So it was a lot harder for them because they didn't come with the group. We're one of the only people, like we're one of the only schools that actually sends people over as a group. So everybody else is just here alone.
Here's mentioned some advice for students who are looking into traveling abroad.
If you have the chance to work with Simpson, and they'll like work with you a lot to like get scholarships and loans and stuff to be able to go. So it's incredibly worth it.
Rap and entertainment fans alike are probably aware of the tragedy that occurred at Travis Scott's Astroworld Festival last Friday, leaving 8 people dead so far with hundreds more suffering injuries. Now, I've been a huge fan of Travis Scott's music for a long time, but I'd be remiss if I didn't call out Travis' actions, or lack thereof, when looking at how he handled the chaos that occurred at Astroworld. Now, before I begin, I don't want to jump the gun with any accusations on what exactly happened at Astroworld, as investigations are still underway. I also want to be fair in saying that yes, Travis did stop the show at least 3 times to ask festival staff and security for help regarding crowd members. However, when an overcrowded gathering of 50,000 people are escalating at the rate that it was, where multiple crowd members lie unresponsive, being carted off by medics, he should have ended the show completely. Travis is a multi-millionaire, award-winning artist. He's not going to suffer from any revenue loss from ending a show. Proving his point, he has since canceled Astroworld and has shared that he's refunding all Astroworld attendees. He's also vowed to pay the funeral costs of victims in addition to providing therapy for survivors. As he should. Not only because it's the right thing to do for your fans anyways, but especially because the entire situation was, in my opinion, preventable. Do I think it's easy for a performer to make out all of what's happening in a crowd full of approximately 50,000 people? No. But if you're aware that that many people are going to be present in this seatless, festival-styled venue, then you need to conduct your due diligence in being prepared. Travis Scott concerts are known to turn into intense mosh pits, and he's obviously aware of this. One step he could have taken, as other artists have done before, is briefing his crowd before the concert starts. Linkin Park, for example, has given their crowd conduct lessons before performances, instructing fans to pick up others if they've fallen. Though this is not guaranteed to result in crowd cooperation, you'd be surprised how receptive fans can be to the artists they're watching perform. Taking this method up a notch, one solution may be to simply set an ultimatum for the crowd, as other rappers like Playboi Carti have done. If your crowd chooses not to follow safety rules and guidelines, then the show will end, case closed. Other measures, like an increased number of fences and barricades throughout the venue for the crowd, limiting the number of attendees for a certain space, or just more intensive crowd management training for security and venue hosts could be utilized as well to prevent these incidents from happening. Because honestly, no one attending a concert, one that could likely turn into a cherished memory for the rest of that person's life, deserves to die or even get hurt there. Artists need to make it their number one priority to prevent tragedies like this from happening at their concerts and or festivals. It is literally the least they could do for their fans. I will end with offering my condolences to the families of the victims: John Hilgert, Brianna Rodriguez, Jacob Juranek, Franco Patino, Axel Acosta, Rudy Pena, Madison Dubsky, and Danish Beige. Let's all keep both the victims and survivors in our thoughts as they cope with this heartbreaking tragedy. I'm Liv Allen, and that's my take. Shifting back to campus news now, Simpson Swimming and Diving has a new head coach. SCTV got introduced to him and previewed the swimming season.
Just how welcoming everybody is, and not just Simpson, but the whole community. And it's phenomenal. That's ultimately one of the biggest reasons I decided to come down here, and just the outreach that everybody has from coach to coach. Over 50% of the team is freshmen, and not just 50% of the team is freshmen, but good talent that wants to be here and is ready to work hard and get to work. Coach Tom, he was a great guy. I had the pleasure of meeting him probably just 2 weeks ago. We just had a great conversation. Whenever I came in, he left me a pamphlet of notes and kind of where he sees the team going and how he's, happy that somebody kind of as excited as myself could come in and hopefully take the program to the next level. They're really starting to figure each other out and kind of figure each of their relationships out with each other, and I've definitely seen good growth as far as that. As you know, post like week 1 or 2, they're maybe chatting with each other a little bit, but not really trying to get each other going. I've coached everywhere from 8 and unders learning how to do a 25 to somebody beating a pool record that was held by an ex-Olympian. So I know that I'll be able to help anybody. I'll be able to help them progress. And you know, they can set the goals, and my job here is to just help them get better with those goals, to lead them.
The swimming team was in action on Saturday in a home meet with Lincoln from Illinois. At the Indianola YMCA, the Storm swam well. Alyssa Harris, Caroline Oberg, Kate Minetti, Bree Hinson, Caitlin Smith, Katie Uzaheis, and Jay Kerpley all won in their respective events. It was a good day for the program as they look to establish an identity. They swim again next weekend against Loras on November the 19th, along with a meet in Missouri. They are back home on January 29th versus Co. Simpson Wrestling hosted the Luther Invitational on Saturday. 8 teams all competing in Coles Fieldhouse. At 125 pounds, Carter Loeb with the pin to move on. We stay at 125 with Dylan McChesney. His first pin of the day, still McChesney in the quarters. He has him down for the count. 1, 2, 3, another pin. He moves on to the semis. Look at that. To face Tywone McNack. In the semifinals, he doesn't want to lose this one. He turns him, takes him down, pins him. He goes to the finals and takes home silver. Zach Stewart, Nathan Keating, and Andrew Wolf also were runner-ups in their respective weight class.
It's great watching winter sports get underway.
Absolutely, and that is going to do it for us this week at SCTV.
We would like to thank Professor Siebert, Professor Carpinelli, and Professor Steffen.
We will be back next week, but until then, don't have a great night. Have an American night.